The 1990s were supposed to be Hollywood's golden reset, a decade of indie breakthroughs, teen idols, and booming box office stars. But behind the red carpets and magazine covers, a darker reality unfolded, one the industry would rather forget. Today, we're counting down the top 10 forgotten Hollywood scandals of the 1990s. Tragic stories, overlooked stars, and industry secrets that shaped an entire generation, yet never made it into the history books. Let's begin. 10. Jonathan Brandis, the teen idol Hollywood. Left behind. Jonathan Brandis wasn't just famous, he was everywhere. Posters in every bedroom, fan mail stacked to the ceiling, and a role on Sequest DSV that made him one of the most recognized young actors of the early 1990s. But behind the scenes, Brandis felt the pressure of being a teen idol with no path forward. As he aged out of cute roles, Hollywood backed away. Scripts stopped coming in. Studios moved on to the next young face. Friends said he battled anxiety, discouragement, and the devastating feeling that his career had peaked before adulthood. In 2003, at just 27, Jonathan Brandis died by suicide, a tragedy rooted directly in the late 90s collapse of his fame. His downfall revealed Hollywood's lifelong pattern of using and discarding its young male stars. 9. Christopher Pett, another young talent lost. Too soon, Christopher Pett was one of those actors who seemed destined for greatness. After Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead and roles in Point Break and The Young Riders, he had the charm, the range, and the fan base. But Christopher struggled with something the public never saw: instability, addiction, and an industry that offered no support once the spotlight dimmed. By the mid-1990s, the phone wasn't ringing anymore. The work dried up, and at just 24 years old, he died from a drug overdose in 2000. Hollywood barely noticed. Pett's story is a harsh reminder of how the 90s chewed up temporary stars, especially young men, and left them with nowhere to go once the frenzy stopped. 8. Brad Renfro, the prodigy Hollywood failed to save. Brad Renfro wasn't discovered, he was launched. At age 10, he starred in The Client and instantly became one of the decade's brightest talents. But early fame came with a cost. Brad was thrust into adult situations, surrounded by older peers, and treated like a grown-up long before he was one. By his mid-teens, he was drinking, using drugs, and struggling with the pressure of being Hollywood's troubled genius. He was arrested multiple times, entered rehab, fought hard to stay clean. But by the 2000s, the damage was done. Brad Renfro died in 2008 at age 25, without the tributes, honors, or Hollywood spotlight he deserved. His story exposed Hollywood's hypocrisy, glamorizing troubled young stars while offering no real path toward recovery. 7. Lilo Broncato Jr., the rising star pulled into crime. Lilo Broncato Jr. burst onto the scene in A Bronx Tale, discovered on a beach because he resembled Robert De Niro. He had charisma, raw talent, and the look of a future heavyweight. But typecasting and the persona the industry built around him pulled him into dangerous territory. He fell into addiction, his roles dried up, his life spiraled, and in 2005, everything shattered when he was involved in a burglary that resulted in the death of an off-duty police officer. Broncato didn't pull the trigger, but the fallout destroyed his career. His scandal revealed how Hollywood's obsession with tough guy roles blurred the line between acting and identity. 6. Tui Trang, the forgotten Power Ranger tragedy. To millions of kids, Tui Trang was the 1990s, the original Yellow Ranger on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. What fans didn't know was the reality behind the scenes. Painfully low pay, dangerous stunt work, long hours, no union protection. After contract disputes, Tui left the show and struggled to find new roles in a system with very few opportunities for Asian American actresses. In 2001, she died in a horrific car accident while traveling with friends. She was just 27. Hollywood barely acknowledged her passing. Her story exposed the dark side of children's TV production, where young performers delivered huge profits while earning almost nothing. 5. River Phoenix. The Viper Room Secrets. Hollywood Buried. River Phoenix was supposed to be the next Brando. Sensitive, brilliant, and adored. But behind his gentle image, he was exhausted, overwhelmed, and hiding a growing struggle with drugs. On Halloween night, 1993, River collapsed outside the Viper Room, a club partly owned by Johnny Depp. Rumors exploded. Cover-ups, whispered names, conspiracy theories. The media turned his death into a circus. Hollywood rushed to control the narrative and bury the truth. His death shattered the romanticized 1990s idea of the artistic cool kid and exposed a darker side of the alternative Hollywood scene. 4. Michael Schaelling, the heartthrob who walked away from fame. Michael Schaelling was considered one of the most desirable young actors in Hollywood. His role as Jake Ryan in 16 Candles made him a household name and a decade-long crush. But by the early 1990s, he was gone. No scandals, no meltdowns. He simply quit. He moved away, started a woodworking business, and refused all interviews. Hollywood was stunned and confused. How could someone so famous walk away so completely? Schaelling became an icon of something Hollywood hated, an actor who didn't need fame. 3. Harold Hunter. The Real Story Behind Kids. 1995. Harold Hunter was a real-life New York skateboarder cast in the shocking 1995 indie film Kids. Overnight, he went from street legend to media obsession. But the fame didn't bring money, stability, or support. Instead, he became a symbol of the gritty 1990s indie scene, a world that loved authenticity but offered no protection. Harold battled addiction and poverty even as fans recognized him on the street. In 2006, he died of a cocaine-induced heart attack. His story exposed how the indie film boom of the 90s often exploited real lives for shock value, with tragic consequences. 2. Brad Davis, the Oscar-level talent. Hollywood erased. Brad Davis was the breakout star of Midnight Express, talented, intense, and destined for greatness. But by the early 1990s, he was quietly fighting HIV, terrified of revealing his diagnosis. He continued acting in secrecy, even forging documents to keep work. In 1991, he died at age 41. His career overshadowed by Hollywood's fear and stigma around illness during that era. His story exposed the harsh truth. The 1990s still punished actors for health-related issues, forcing many into silence. 1. Jonathan Larson, the genius who never saw his own success. Jonathan Larson wasn't a movie star. He was a playwright fighting just to survive in 1990s New York. For years, he poured everything he had into one project, a musical called Rent. He worked non-stop, lived frugally, dealt with rejection after rejection. And on January 25, 1996, the night before Rent's big premiere, Jonathan Larson collapsed and died from an undiagnosed heart condition. The next morning, his show became a cultural revolution. Broadway exploded. Larson's work changed musical theater forever, but he never lived to see a single moment of it. His story revealed failures in the healthcare system, and the brutal emotional cost of chasing artistic dreams in 1990s America. The 1990s gave us unforgettable pop culture, but it also buried stories of incredible talent lost too soon, stars exploited for profit, and lives changed forever. These scandals may not have made the front pages, but they shaped the industry more than Hollywood will ever admit. If you want more forgotten stories from Hollywood's past, check out our 1970s and 1980s editions next. And as always, thanks for watching Celebrity Exposed.